Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet, get a $100 free bet. Head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast. They're giving away an autographed DeAndre Swift jersey and a merch store gift card. Get all the details by following them on Twitter at SGPN Fantasy. And finally, we're brought to you by the MLB Gambling Podcast. We're giving away an MLB jersey as part of our wildcard playoff contest exclusively in the SGPN app. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford. I am coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne, stuck up on the northeast coast of England. Today is Thursday, October the 6th, and we are here with, this is a AL wildcard show for the games that are going to start on Friday, October the 7th. The series start tomorrow. It's a four-way go tonight. I'll introduce the dross first before we get on to the main attraction. Firstly is the machine, Mr. Munaf Manji. Munaf, what's happening?
Postseason is here, Malcolm. I'm excited. Like you mentioned, we'll talk about AL wildcard, and then we'll do the NL later. But big show planned. I'm really excited about the postseason, Mal.
Yeah, me too. Good times. Second up, the youngster, Noah Bennick. Noah, what's happening?
How are you doing, Malcolm? I tried to be cool and go with some earbuds, but they were lagging too much for me. And I talked too much already. So that's about as much of an intro you guys need from me. I'm ready to do this. Postseason baseball.
And finally, we have an extra special guest. Not spoke to him personally since the start of the season. If you follow this man on Twitter, you'll know that all of the Toronto Blue Jays organization have at various times been the best players in the world, the worst players in the world. The entire bullpen's been sent to Mars at various points. But also, I believe he's got developing a bit of a soft spot for Newcastle United. So he's all right in my book. It is Mr. Johnny Guinta. Johnny, good to see you. What's happening?
Doing great, man. And I will say this, and speaking about Newcastle, they've been an absolute cash cow. I know this is MLB Gambling Podcast, but Newcastle, and by the way, Mal, I mean, I trust your team more than you trust them. I tweeted out Newcastle was a lock, and you give me the whole spiel, they're missing players. It doesn't matter with Newcastle. They find ways to win, and on the road as well, and they might be my favorite team in the EPL, the most undervalued team in the EPL, I'll say. You
tried to mush me last Saturday is what you tried to do,
Johnny.
I
didn't know. I had them. I did not mush you. I'm all in on Newcastle. I will never reverse mush them. I only reverse mush the Yankees.
I've gone all in on the reverse mush tonight. I've got my Blue Jays cap on. I've got my Italy number 20 Francesco Totti shirt on. So I've pulled out all the stops, Johnny, to make you feel like this is a safe space for you tonight.
I appreciate that.
What we're going to look at in the next half an hour or so, like I say, the two AL wildcard games that start tomorrow. First, before we get into that, I'm going to have a 30-second rant. MLB have pulled the plug. They've blacked out all the games in Europe. So I've paid my MLB subscription. Everyone over here has paid it. The rules were we'd be allowed to watch it, and they've just decided today to change the rules. Talk about growing the sport. We talked World Baseball Classic the last couple of weeks. Italy, Israel doing well, Holland, Germany, Great Britain made the cut. All this home run derby X bollocks, where they go all around the world and make YouTubers hit balls off platforms. And then you get to the actual playoffs and they've pulled the plug. So we feel a little bit now like you feel, because I know you boys get the blackouts all the time, which is complete bollocks. But the AL wildcard, we're going to start with Johnny and his Toronto Blue Jays, because that is the reason we've got him on. They go off at 4:07 tomorrow, home series against the Seattle Mariners. The pitchers for the three nights. Tomorrow is Luis Castillo taking on Alek Manoah. And then it looks like Robbie Ray v. Ross Stripling and Logan Gilbert against Kevin Gausman. For the series, Seattle are plus 135, Blue Jays minus 136. And for tomorrow's game, the Mariners with Castillo are plus 125. Alek Manoah and the Blue Jays are minus 132. Johnny, break down the series, break down game one. Just give us anything you've got, any picks, leans, thoughts, gut feelings. Hit us with everything.
Well, I will say this. I will be in attendance Saturday, and potentially I have tickets to the Sunday game as well. First time in 5 years, or 6 years, Jays have had home playoff games. I'm fired up for it. And maybe you guys can back me up on this. I have never seen a team so disrespected and so bet against than the Toronto Blue Jays, again, in this series. Every single fan is trying to give me a spiel on TikTok, on everything, that the Mariners are better than the Blue Jays when their lineup isn't even nowhere near. And the starting pitching's better, all that type of stuff. You are playing at the Rogers Center, arguably one of the hardest places to play in postseason baseball. I know you guys have seen the videos, all that type of stuff. It's sickening shit. And this series, Alek Manoah going game one against, you could have fucking Cy Young on the other side of the bump going up against him. Alek Manoah is a guy, he has a 0.8 ERA in the month of September in crunch time. 0.88. Been one of the best pitchers in baseball. Going against Luis Castillo, who's been kind of shaky, to be honest with you. I think game one's going to set the tone. Alek Manoah's first time pitching in a playoff game at the Rogers Center. It's going to be massive. I think he shines to the moment, and like I said in the tweet, he etches his name starting to become a legend in Blue Jays baseball. I think game one is not, I'm not going to say a lock, obviously, but I favor the Jays in that. The Jays lineup's way better. I'm not really that scared of Eugenio Suarez, who apparently, according to all Twitter, is better than Matt Chapman, which is just another absurd take. But I think it favors, the only thing the Jays are down in this series is bullpen. I think the bullpen is the scariest part of the series. Penn Murphy, that Munoz guy who throws 103 for no reason, and Paul Sewald, who, like I said, I'm not really that scared of that guy, but those two guys in that bullpen are freaks. So if this is a close game and it turns into a bullpen fest, I don't know if I trust the Jays bullpen compared to the Mariners. So I'm going to give the Jays the advantage on offense and on starting pitching. And then the bullpen is just a throwaway. I don't know where to go with that, but I think it's the Jays clear cut, and it's disrespectful to even make them 150.
So confident behind Alek Manoah then tomorrow. Moving on to the weekend, Stripling and Gosman. You happy enough with those two boys going?
Actually, John Schneider said he doesn't know. He's not showing his hand, so he's not gonna. It's like,
okay.
Yeah, so I believe it's gonna go Stripling, which is I think what I predicted. Stripling going game 2 if Jays win game 1. And then if Jays lose game 1, it's obviously going to be Manoah. But Robbie Ray, like, the guy has a 3.7 ERA. I'm like, that each pitching matchup you go up against him, I'm not scared of. Like, Robbie Ray gets hit around a lot. The Jays have mainly just every one of the lineups a righty. So righty on lefty right there, automatic advantage. I don't think that Robbie Ray matchup's that scary. If I'm the Mariners, I don't know why I'm not starting Logan Gilbert game 2. Is that crazy to say? I think Logan Gilbert's been more impressive than Robbie Ray. Am I right on that, Noah?
I think you are. Honestly, Robbie Ray has a little bit of control issues that I've never liked. At the beginning of the season, I was kind of out on him. Then I kind of got back into him. And when I got bought back into him, he started to fade down the stretch again. So I'm right there with you, Johnny.
I'm not 100% sure that on my notes, which are the Oracle, I've got Ray and Gilbert with a little interchangeable arrow next to them. So I'm not sure that's entirely set in stone. But yeah, Robbie Ray, I mean, unreliable is the buzzword there with Robbie Ray. So all told then, Johnny, moving forwards, you think the Seattle Mariners don't hold too many fears for you. And if you want to take us further down the line in your bracket, Johnny, how do you feel about the Blue Jays then moving on, potential opponents?
Yeah, I like the Jays moving on. I mean, the thing is, what it's going to come down to, and this is not a cliche answer to say, is if the bats show up. Like, the Mariners' bottom of the order has been terrible, like not great at all. I mean, Carlos Santana I think he's in the 5-6 hole, but it's not great. I mean, it goes Julio Rodriguez, Ty France, maybe Mitch Haniger, and then the rest are just fill-in guys. I mean, the Jays, you got Danny Jansen hitting in the 9 hole, who's a 270 hitter, who's been putting up all-time numbers for the Toronto Blue Jays. I think he just broke a record for catchers for Toronto Blue Jays. And Whit Merrifield, who's hitting like 320 in the last month. Those are the 8-9 guys. No other lineup, I guess there's a couple others like the Dodgers might be, but no other lineup has those type of guys at the bottom of the order that can turn the order over. And we know what the top of the order does, right? I mean, you got Springer, Vladdy, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Alejandro Kirk, Lourdes Gurriel, and Chapman. It never stops. So I think it's all going to come down to if these guys show up like they have been the last couple of weeks, it's going to be hard to get these guys out. That's where I stand with that. But I do have the Jays advancing, obviously. I'm going to say in 3 to be safe, but I don't want to mush it. So I'm going to say Jays in 3. But I do think it could very easily go 2, especially with the way the pitching matchups and the lineups go.
I've found, Johnny, that the Toronto Blue Jays are one of the teams that I'm least comfortable handicapping. There's certain teams I think, I expect this from them this week or in this series. I never find that with the Blue Jays. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. How have you felt the Blue Jays have been this season, generally speaking? Is there ever a time when you're comfortable with what they're about to produce?
It's been a roller coaster. And I'll say right now, the whole lineup, the entire Blue Jays lineup right now is hitting. I mean, Whit Merrifield from the clouds all of a sudden. Matt Chapman, 27 home runs, platinum gold glove third baseman. Everyone's really starting to hit. And I mean, the Mariners, you can make the argument they kind of coasted in or like dragged themselves into the playoffs. I mean, easy chance for home field advantage. You lose to a series to the Athletics. You lose a series to the Angels. You lose a series to the KC Royals. And you barely beat the Tigers. Like, that's coasting in. The Jays handled their business. I mean, they won the series against the Orioles. They dog walked the Red Sox, swept them at Rogers Center, and they handled their own. I mean, I think it goes into how you go into the playoffs. And the Mariners coasted in, and the Jays have been playing playoff baseball since for that home field advantage. So I like the chances with that. It's definitely all about momentum, and especially in the MLB playoffs. You saw it with the Braves last year.
So Johnny locking his bets up there on the Toronto Blue Jays. Our lines tonight, all the bets will come from WinBet. The perfect time to join is now. If you bet $100, you'll get a $100 free bet. The casino is on the go. 100% deposit bonus there, up to $1,000 as well. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so they know that we sent you. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Fubo TV as well. Loads of football going on at the moment. Fubo TV gives you complete coverage, college and pro football, NFL Red Zone, and 4K, no extra charge. No contract, no commitment. Cancel at any time. Try Fubo TV free for 7 days. Get 15% off your first month. Go to FuboTV.com/SGP. That's FUBOTV.com/SGP. Okay, which one of us then is going to be the first to step out of line and try and get in the way of Johnny's bandwagon, Moonaf? Who have you got here? You got the Seattle Mariners or have you got the Blue Jays?
I've got the Blue Jays, and I think that we kind of go back and look at the season series between these two squads and understand that, Mariners won, I think, 5 out of the 7 games that they played each other. But I think 4 of those 5 victories came in Seattle for the Mariners. And I think experience has a lot to do with once you get to the postseason, right? I think that especially in game 1 with Alek Manoah, and I picked him to be the AL Cy Young this year. Unfortunately for me, Justin Verlander's had an incredible year for the Astros, but Manoah's been a guy that I have been backing a lot this season. And like Johnny mentioned, I think that he's going to pitch a big game for the Blue Jays in game 1. I think we're getting a discounted price on Manoah here in game 1. I know Luis Castillo's on the other side, but Johnny hit the nail on the head that I think this lineup for the Blue Jays is a lot deeper from 1 to 9 than that is of the Seattle Mariners, right? I think Seattle Mariners, you could give them 1 to 4, 1 to 5, but after that, there's a lot of question marks there. And they're still a young team, right? We talked about it in the last season that they were going to be this up-and-coming team. They're in the playoffs now. They have a 3-game series here, but I think is the moment going to be too big for the Seattle Mariners, especially in Toronto at Rogers Center, right? That crowd is going to be they're going to be drunk by midnight before the game even starts the next day. So I just think that this is going to be a game, number 1, where I think the Blue Jays lineup is going to be better than the Mariners, obviously. And I know the concerns we have about the bullpen, but I think this starting pitching, especially with Manoah, Ross Stripling, and Kevin Gausman, I think those guys will probably at least go 6 to 7 innings, at least if they are pitching a great game, because I'm like Johnny, I'm not sure I trust his bullpen at all for the Toronto Blue Jays. So, yeah, I'm going with the Jays for the series and in game 1. But I did want to ask Johnny, if you had to pick 1 or 2 guys in this lineup that you're looking out for to kind of be that X factor for this Blue Jays lineup. I know you and I have talked a lot about Bo Bichette throughout the season, but if you had to pick maybe 1 or 2 guys to really step up and help out guys like Vlad in this lineup, who would you go with?
I'm going to say an underrated guy that I have no idea why he's not talked about. I know he's been injured, is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I mean, this is a guy that hits in the 7 spot, 6 spot of the lineup, is above 300 hitter, really good contact guy, has shown to have a lot of power, and he puts the bat on the ball when he has to be. And he's also he's a decent fielder and has a good arm. Like, him, and I would probably say a guy like Munaf knows is Teoscar Hernandez, another guy that's just not talked about in baseball. We pulled up his stats on Gate 14 podcast in the last month. I believe he's hitting over 300 in his last 30 games. And he's a guy that if he gets hot, here's stats right here. Last 7 games since I guess like getting back into the lineup, he's hitting 357 with 3 home runs and 10 hits. I mean, that's a guy. If that guy's firing on all cylinders in the Blue Jays lineup, it's another guy it's impossible to get out. And he's shown, I mean, you saw last week against the Red Sox, I think he hit 2 home runs, 1 game tying and the other one to take the lead. This is a guy that he's a gamer. I think Teoscar and Lourdes Gurriel, and you can even throw Matt Chapman in there, are going to be massive X factors because these are guys that are veterans, a little bit more experience, not much playoff experience, but don't let the moments get too big. And these are 3 guys that are going to be massive for this team. So I do like that 4, 5, 6 part of the lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays in the playoffs.
Okay, so Noah, are you going to make us a 3-way go, or are you going to make us a case for Seattle?
Oh, come on, Malcolm. I drafted the Toronto Blue Jays in our thing. I'm going with the Blue Jays in the series, and I think that's an interesting point by Johnny to make about Teoscar Hernandez. Is that's a guy I was kind of out on the Blue Jays in the preseason. I thought they were a very public favorite to win the division. Then Aaron Judge and the Yankees happened, but Teoscar Hernandez was my dark horse to lead the league in the RBIs, and he just got injured and didn't quite have that full season impact. Since the trade deadline, Toronto has a 752 OPS, ranking 6th in the MLB, and since the beginning of September, they have the number 1 team OPS at 803, which is 40 points higher than the next team. Now, you guys are nervous about the Blue Jays bullpen. I'll counteract that with, Jordan Romano. And then a guy that I like is Adam Simber. Me, personally, I'm a 3-quarter submarine type pitcher. And then a guy that's close to home, Anthony Bass from Wayne State in my area. Those 3 guys I look to, carry the load for this bullpen and have big roles in the postseason. Then you look at the Mariners bullpen, and I think a lot of people, they say they have a lot of talent in the bullpen. But their number 1 guy, Paul Sewald, their closer in the back end, he has a 3.86 ERA in the month of September. Everybody's convinced that Craig Kimbrell is washed, right? He had an ERA of 3.18 and 2 more innings pitched in September than the Mariners closer. So that's just something to think about. For me, I love looking at the bullpen ERAs. It's such a massive thing in postseason baseball. Seattle has the 5th best team bullpen ERA since the trade deadline at 2.99. That's going to make a difference. But I think the Blue Jays lineup knows Robbie Ray, and they're going to know his tendencies going into Rogers Center, which is, like Johnny said, one of the biggest home environment impacts that you're going to have in the playoffs. I always think about Encarnacion's home runs and Bautista's home runs. That place gets nuts when good things happen to their baseball team. I'm nervous about the postseason experience that this Mariners team lacks, and they go on the road. They don't get one single home game in this wild card series. I like the Blue Jays.
So I'll move along the bus because I'm going to jump on as well. It's 4 for 4. I found this relatively straight. If you want to play the trumpets, no, you play the trumpets.
We show Johnny the trumpets. Let's go.
Johnny will dance more than Moonap will dance.
My bad.
Let's go. I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
So yeah, in this firstly game 1, Castillo, the words I've got written down here, he's beatable. 3 of his last 5 starts just haven't been good enough at all. Generally on the road, he's been okay. But going up against Alek Manoah, absolutely lights out, scoreless in his last 2. There wasn't an awful lot to split the rest of the stats here. There was no real home road splits. There was nothing that jumped off the page. So my handicap was almost solely on the starting pitching matchup here. And you've got no option but to take Alek Manoah. I think then, given the fact that you've got the Blue Jays going 1-0 up, you then have to take them to win the series, I think, because you have to trust Strickland and Gosman over Ray and Gilbert, whichever order round they go. So the Blue Jays at -136 for the series and at -132. I've got the Blue Jays going 2-0. I know Johnny put a little safety net in there with 2-1, but I've got them going 2-0 here. And again, just for that trustage. And I think that the Blue Jays have got that series under the belt. I don't think they'll shit the bed like they did last year. And it might just be Seattle's turn to do that. this time round. So, yeah, everyone confident about the Toronto Blue Jays. So, yeah, good luck, Johnny, with all of that. We'll get onto the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland series presently. I'm going to tell you briefly about the Elias Game Plan app, outstanding app, which means you can improve your betting, your fantasy knowledge, or even just your little bit of chat down the pub if you want to do that. The Elias Sports Bureau are the official statisticians of US pro sports leagues, and their app will give you all the info at your fingertips to take your NFL season to the next level. Download the Elias Game Plan app today. You can get 25% off your first month if you choose the monthly subscription plan by using our promo code SGPN25. That is the Elias Game Plan Sports Betting in the App Store or Play Store. Use our promo code SGPN25. No House Advantage, changing the game, offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. You can win over $250,000 in cash in pick'em contests, climb the leaderboard by playing in any sport you like. Our promo code is SGPN at nohouseadvantage.com. Download the app to get a first deposit match up to $25. Okay, so the Mariners and Blue Jays goes off second, actually, tomorrow. The early game, the first game that gets under starters orders tomorrow is the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland Guardians. For the series, Tampa Bay are -105, Cleveland -114. Tomorrow's matchup is the lefty Shane McClanahan against Shane Bieber for Cleveland. This game is McClanahan +105, Shane Bieber -120. Johnny, you can lead us off. Tampa Bay, Cleveland, how do you feel about it, and where will you be putting your money?
This is one of the weirdest series, I think, of the entire playoffs. Two teams that I really don't like. I don't have a feel on. I don't really understand. I mean, Shane McClanahan these last 3 weeks since he got back from injury has been terrible, absolutely terrible. And Shane Bieber has been kind of not. He's not really a strikeout guy anymore. I could be wrong on that because I'm not the brightest, but I'm pretty sure he's lost a couple miles per hour off of his fastball, as well as his off speed isn't as good as it used to be. But I think the Guardians are one of the a sneaky dark horse in the playoffs that I think could potentially go far. I know the Tampa Bay Rays have those analytics, whatever, on their side, computers, whatever, but I'm not sold on the Tampa Bay Rays. That lineup isn't really that sexy to me. I mean, Wander Franco's very good. Trying to other guys I'm blanking on, but I'm not
Randy
sold.
Arozarena.
Yeah, Randy Arozarena is good too, but this Guardians lineup, man, I mean, especially at home too. You want to talk about another home field advantage, man? Those fans are psychopaths in Cleveland. They got nothing. I mean, the Browns are dog shit, and it's just all they have is the Cleveland Guardians. So I think that atmosphere is going to play to it. I love Shane Bieber versus McClanahan tomorrow. There's probably a lot of value actually on the Guardians. I think that line should be a little bit higher. I think it goes Guardians in 3, and then Cal Quantrill takes it at home game 3, who's, by the way, just never loses at home. I don't think he's lost all year at home. I love that game, and I love that series. I think I'm going to take the Guardians. Rays aren't. I think the Rays. I don't know. I'm not going to say they're done, but throwing Tyler Glass now game 2 when he's had 2 rehab starts in the show since his return is kind of crazy to me. No, I don't understand that at all. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a lack of alternatives, really. I mean, Jeffrey Springs is the other name you would throw out there, and it's not exactly a name that's going to strike fear into anyone. One of the highlights of my year following you on Twitter, Johnny, is when you called the Tampa Bay Rays a circus act earlier in the season. That made me laugh a lot. And we actually mentioned last night when we handicapped, when we did our draft, that in the past we've been guilty of underrating the Tampa Bay Rays. They were just kind of an insta fade because they weren't that glamorous. But this time round, I think it is true. The lineup, you've just mentioned a lot of the names in that lineup, and they're just not as good as they were. They're still trying to do the same things, but you're doing the same things with players that aren't as good. So yeah, Tampa Bay really do nothing for me whatsoever. I'll get onto my handicap at the end. No one wants to hear me. Munaf, Tampa Bay against Cleveland. What have you got?
I think a lot of things that we did mention yesterday when we did the episode, when we did our draft, is that there's not much offensively for this Tampa Bay Rays team. I think we could just say they're a great regular season team, but when it comes to the playoffs, they again, the batting order, it's Randy Arozarena, it's Wander Franco, and I mean, not much else after that. And they haven't really done anything over the past, I don't know, 3-4 years to really address anything on the offensive side of the ball for them in their batting lineup. It's all been about their pitching. Well, yeah, you can pitch as much as you want and win games, but at the end of the day, you still have to score runs. But it feels like to me this series is going to be a lot of games that are going to be runs are going to be at a premium. So I feel like that team that gets to 3 first is probably going to win those games. And like we talked about, this is going to be a great pitching series between these two squads, between the Guardians and the Rays. I think the Guardians are going to come in and then take care of business in this series. I do like them in game 1 with Shane Bieber on the mound. But also do like the under in this game as well. And it's only at 6 runs right now. But I think this is going to be a series where we see, or at least in game 1, where it's going to be like a 2-0, 3-1 victory for the Guardians. They are the hottest team I think since the All-Star break. We talked about it a lot on the podcast when we thought about backing the White Sox, and we did. Unfortunately for the White Sox, the Guardians were just a better team down the stretch. They're coming in probably, like I mentioned, the hottest team into these playoffs. They have all the momentum. Like Johnny mentioned, they're going to be in Cleveland. The crowd is going to be rowdy and cheering this team on. I like them in this series, and I do like them in game 1 behind Shane Bieber.
Captain Insano in the chat there, just pointing out what we're talking about, that everyone always counts out the Tampa Bay Rays and you do it at your peril. Right, at some point tonight, Noah, someone's going to have to take an opposite stance here. What have you got for us?
It's not going to come from me. I said it on yesterday's podcast. I thought the Cleveland Guardians were the closest you're going to get to a lock in the wild card round. You look at game 1, 2. I'm also on the Guardians. Johnny said it as well. He took my handicap. Nick Lanahan has not looked good down the stretch, and this is a guy that has exponentially grown his innings count from last year to this year. It's been outrageous. Like, most of the time you want to grow a young pitcher incrementally by about 30 to 45 innings a year. This guy's already at like over 70 innings of his 2021 season. This Tampa Bay Rays bullpen just isn't quite as automatic as it was 3 years ago either. Like, the 3.35 bullpen ERA ranks them only 8th in the MLB. Usually they're top 2. And the 3.07 ERA since the trade deadline, ranking them 6th among the 12 playoff teams. The Rays also hold the clear worst record among the 12 playoff teams, as they were 35-45 on the season. Plus, they have so many injuries with Kevin Kiermaier, Mike Zunino, Brandon Lau, David Peralta, Francisco Mejia, and 2 of their most reliable pitchers, Andrew Kittredge and Colin Poche. I'm going to the Guardians because, this team, I think, has everything but a power source. Now, I've said it on this podcast. I think you need a little bit of power nowadays to win in October. That's just how the Braves did it last year. But this team sneakily has good pop. Like, they get on base, they work runners around the bases. They run the base paths like maniacs. They play good defense. They are fundamentally sound. I'm just looking for Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, or Oscar Gonzalez to just provide one offensive explosion in a time of need with a timely hit. So the Guardians, they're fully healthy. I like them to win this series. And Johnny also mentioned it. Kyle Quantrill, just to give you the stat, he's 14-0 with a 2.88 ERA and 34 starts in his career at Progressive Field. So if this thing goes game 3, Kyle Quantrill on the mound, give me the Guardians.
Well, you're going to have to move along the bus again because I'm jumping on the Guardians. I've got them both for game 1 and for the series. -120 behind Bieber and -114 for the series. The Tampa Bay road form, no one's mentioned. I'm not going to repeat stuff that we've talked about. Tampa Bay road form's been horrible, way below. Did you mention that, Noah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't listen to everything you say, I'll be honest with you.
I get tuned out. That's fine.
I think the Guardians lead 4-2 on the series. They played each other only 2 weeks ago, around about 10 days ago, and Cleveland eked out 2-1 home wins. And that kind of looks like Munaf was just saying, the total's at 6, it's really low. But I think that's the kind of format you're going to be looking at. Cleveland might just be 1 or 2 runs better than them in a low scoring game. I expect Bieber to win, and then you say they'll take one of the next 2, either Tristan McKenzie or Kyle Quantrill. Corey Kluber scares me going on game 3 for Tampa Bay. Possibly Ryan Yarbrough following Tyler Glasnow, as Captain Encino points out in the chat as well. You did just mention base running. We did really well last year on LA Dodgers stolen base props. Now, Cleveland this year have had 5 or 6 guys who've stolen over 15 bases. which is the first time that's happened since like 1932 or something. So if you want a pizza bet on some cheeky stolen base props, they've got boys who will swipe the bag as well. So if you want a little few fun bets, that might be something to keep you entertained there. Let me just tell you briefly about Trade Coffee. Trade Coffee are back, people. Trade Coffee, first of all, you need to take the quiz, and they will put you in touch with the best independent craft roasters and find the most popular coffees by roast or flavor profile that are going to suit you. Take the coffee quiz, get expertly matched coffees that you love. It supports small businesses, brews the best cup of coffee you've ever made at home. It's time to try Trade Coffee. Right now, Trade is offering our listeners a total of $30 off your first order, plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/SGP. That's drinktrade.com/SGP for $30 off your subscription to the best coffees in the country. And finally here, Odds Trader. Odds Trader will compare the odds from all major sportsbooks. Also compare the different sign-up codes and promos for you so you get the best value for your money. Once you're in, you'll be getting things like play-by-play updates, live scores, player stats, key game stats, projected game day weather. Everything you need will be at oddstrader.com/bluewire. OddsTrader is the number one site for all of your game day bets. Okay, so we've got 2 team rides here. 2 4 for 4s.
The trumpets again?
No, leave the trumpets. So we've got the Blue Jays and the Guardians. We'll throw this back to Johnny because what we've been calling the last couple of weeks, Johnny, our bottom draw, where we scour the rest of the. We're going to do an NL wild card show, and then the rest of the playoffs as well. But is there anything else across the National League? Players, any bets? What are you going to be getting involved in while you're watching the playoffs?
The one team I'm really looking at right now is the Phillies. I think the Phillies are plus 110. I know it's not really that much juice for an underdog team on the road, but that Phillies lineup is not that bad, and it's going Blake Wheeler game 1. Love it. And I think Helsley is injured, right? Or he's
the middle finger.
Okay.
He got hit on a soft line drive.
Okay. So Helsley being out, I mean, that Cardinals bullpen takes a massive hit. I think Bryce Harper obviously has been struggling a lot. He's going to turn it on. He's electric in the playoffs, Bryce Harper. JT Realmuto has been pretty good. Obviously, Kyle Schwarber, 40-something home runs, 45, whatever he hit this year. I think the Phillies are undervalued. I think I could definitely see the Phillies doing something special and upsetting the Cardinals.
You got the chat sharp with you as well, and Insano.
There it is. Insano.
Yeah,
if
it's good enough for Insano, Johnny, it's normally good enough for us. And if you want to give us your World Series winner, if it is the Toronto Blue Jays, Johnny, you can give us 2 picks. I'll let you.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not that confident in a World Series. I think it's out. Rob Manfred's the dumbest human being of all time, making the team that finishes the highest in the wild card have to face the Astros, not the Yankees, the second division team. Doesn't make any sense on the planet. It's just the dumbest thought process of all time. I was tweeting tank for third, so the Jays go Guardians, Yankees. I wanted third place. But I just think it's absolutely absurd that. And I'm going to go World Series prediction. Like I said, man, I genuinely do think the Guardians are a dark horse. I think they have what it takes. I mean, they're an underrated team. It's just talking about a team that's getting in hot, going at the end of the season into the playoffs. The Guardians are that team. I mean, one of the best records last month. I'm going to go, this is a crazy, but obviously I'm going to say it's the Jays, but if it's not the Jays, I'm going to go Guardians versus Braves in the World Series.
Guardians versus Braves. So a little bit of 22-1 Cleveland Guardians take on the 4-1 Atlanta Braves. I love that. Moonaf, have you got anything to you want to throw at Johnny before we let him go?
No, I think we covered it pretty much. I don't know if you want to give out our lock and dog for game 1 or for the AL wild
Give
card.
it out. Let's hear it.
Go on, Moonaf.
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. For my lock, I'm gonna go with. Man,
do we want to do lock and dog or just AL bracket?
I don't think we've got a dog. There's not a dog between us here.
Yeah, we don't have a dog.
I think the only dog price that I do like is if I'm going to take the Blue Jays. I know they're at minus 128, but I'll probably just take them on the run line at minus 1.5 at plus 170. I think that if you take a look at Manoah starts at home, I believe he's 5-2 on the run line. And Alek Manoah has been a guy that I really do like at home. And I talked about that when we talked about the Blue Jays. He's just been incredible at home this season for the Blue Jays. So if I had to put out a dog pick, I would think I would go -1.5 with the Blue Jays at +170, at least for the game ones.
Noah?
For me, the way I see this Blue Jays Seattle series, I get a little nervous if it goes game 3. So I guess my favorite bet that I want to give out is Blue Jays in 2. I'm going to grab odds from it because I have to go into the black hole or another universe.
It's 2-1, Noah, because I just picked out the exact same bet I was going to give out. So 2-1 is the answer.
What'd you say?
2-1.
Yeah,
plus
2-1.
Yeah, I like that play. But yeah, I like Blue Jays in 2, Guardians in 3 for me, and then that sets up some fun ALDS matches or games. Johnny, how about you?
I'm gonna go with this is something that I do like here. I'm gonna go for my lock. I'm gonna obviously go Jays -128 game 1. Obviously with Manoah on the mound. I mean, that guy is just a money printing machine for Blue Jays fans, obviously. And another one that I have that is kind of crazy. Just this is a dog that I kind of like here. Is I'm gonna go, what's it called? The Cleveland Guardians to never be just to sweep, to go up to win the series 2-0. It's +125, I believe, on win bet. I could be wrong on that. I like the Guardians to sweep. I really do. I think glowing Glasnow and not Jeffrey Springs game 2 is one of the most and listen, Glasnow is my guy. I just think a guy that just has 2 starts under his belt in the big league since coming off of a serious surgery is outlandish. And I think Jeffrey Springs has done enough to earn a game 2 start for the Tampa Bay Rays. So I'm gonna go Guardians to sweep and Blue Jays game 1 is my lock, and then obviously my dog's gonna be the Guardians to sweep. But I love those pitching matchups. I love Shane Bieber to get ahead of McClanahan, who's been struggling. I don't think McClanahan's pitched in a playoff game in front of fans, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. In front of fans.
Yeah.
No,
he hasn't pitched. No, he
Yeah.
hasn't. So that could be another factor to go into. And I mean, I think, I really do like the Guardians, man. I love that lineup. Jose Ramirez is just one of the most underrated players in baseball. When the guy just continues to put up big boy numbers, it's crazy. So I think the Guardians are a sleeper, and a lot of people, if I'm looking at public guys, a lot of public bettors are just going to take the Rays blindly because the Rays are the Rays, and they've always been a team that has been going into the ALCS, ALDS, and stuff like that. I think it's done. I don't think they match up well against the Guardians. I really don't.
So for my lock, I'll take Cleveland in game 1, Bieber over McClanahan. McClanahan hasn't blown my skirt up at all recently, so Bieber at -120. And I found a fancy price one here as a dog. We'll take Andres Jimenez over half on the stolen base market at +675. If you wanted to split a unit up, maybe throw Stephen Kwan in there as well at +825. So there you go. We'll get the boys running the bases tomorrow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gets us to the end of our little AL wildcard preview. That was really good, Johnny. Thank you very much. Firstly, I really hope you enjoy Saturday night when you go to the game. I think that's important. And then I'll wish you the best of luck for the rest of the series.
I'll be honest with you, man. I can't sleep. Like I am. There's Jays fans, and then you guys know. Like there's the way that I'm locked into this team. I am a legitimate psychopath with it. Like this is not even me trying to over exaggerate stuff. I legit, like, my entire dreams last night when I was sleeping was what's happening in this wild card game. And I know it sounds cliche. I'm not even joking you. I woke up, checked my phone, and was like, did the Jays actually win last night? Because I had no idea. I was just in the abyss, just dreaming about the wild card series. So I'm going to be there game 2 on Saturday with the people outside gate 14. It's going to be all time. Let's go. Let's go.
Mate, there's nothing like it. That kind of fandom, wouldn't change it for the world. I know exactly how you feel. Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it. Have a lovely time. And hopefully we'll speak to you, maybe if they have a little bit of success later in the month. Moonaf, thank you very much. Noah, thank you. Cheers, everyone who's joined on the chat. Good luck with all your bets, everybody. We'll be back ever so shortly with an NL wildcard preview. But until then, we will see you down the road. Cheers.